I've always liked the idea of a two-in-one. Especially for students, you can take notes, draw, and do everything all on one device. But I actually never stuck to using one long term because there's always some sort of compromise, whether it's performance, thermals, noise, and especially battery life. But now with the new Intel Core Ultra processor, which is actually dramatically faster and more efficient, a two-in-one is just more appealing than ever. Lenovo and Intel sponsored this video to show what this new generation of two-in-ones can do, and they're so confident in it that I get to say anything I want. So can a two-in-one device really make for a good tablet? Well, kind of. It's never going to be as light as a tablet because the keyboard is attached. And so holding it is just a little bit clunky, but I actually mostly just use my tablet on a table. And once you have it laying down like this, it's as good as it gets. And there are actually two versions of this display. Both are Lenovo's PureSight OLED and 16:10, which is great. But one of them is 4K 60 Hz, and the one that I have is 2.8K at 120 Hz. And I think that's definitely the combination to go for. With a 2.8K screen, it's sharp enough such that you don't see any pixels unless you get really close to it. But the 120 Hz just makes it feel so much nicer than 60 Hz, especially when you're writing on it with a pen. And speaking of the pen, Lenovo's pen is actually really good. It attaches right here in the front, and the magnet is really strong. I've used other two-in-one devices with a similar design for holding the pen, and on those I find that the magnet is so weak that I actually don't end up storing it there because I'm just so scared that it's going to fall off. But with this one, it's perfectly fine. Like, I can shake the laptop really vigorously and it's still fine. But to get this strong attachment, the pen's shape is a little bit compromised. It's this really flat shape. It still feels fine to hold and write with. It's pretty light, but I would still prefer a more rounded shape. And the best part about this pen is that it has these two buttons that you can map to do various functions, and you can also charge this with USB-C. And to customize these two buttons, you do it in the Lenovo pen settings. Here you can adjust the pen tip sensitivity and the tilt sensitivity, which is really nice. And these two buttons have lots of different shortcut options. I really like having one of the buttons set to erase. It's just really convenient. But probably the best one is the radial menu. And how this works is when you're hovering the pen over the screen, you can pull up this menu with a whole bunch more shortcuts. And this is especially useful when you're using the device in this tablet form, because in this form, you don't have the keyboard anymore. And so if I want to do something simple like adjust the volume, I have to pull up the dock, press the volume, and then make my adjustments. It's just way too many steps. But now with this shortcut, it's nice and easy. So I'm really glad about this solution. I think it's very well implemented. And the other great thing about this pen is that it tracks really well. When I'm slowly drawing a diagonal line, there's barely any line jitter. I've seen some other pens where there's much more jitter when you do this. Overall, it's really nice to write with this pen, and the rubber tip also helps with making it feel more natural and less slippery when writing on the screen. And besides shortcuts with the buttons, there's actually also gesture shortcuts. Like if I swipe like this, I can take a screenshot. And if I swipe from the other way, I can bring up Smart Notes. So you can super quickly just start taking some notes. And this Smart Notes feature is actually enabled on the lock screen as well. I don't have to log in, I can just hover the pen over the lock screen and then I can start taking notes. But one downside about this is that the OLED screen is only 400 nits, which is still pretty bright and it's not a problem indoors, but outdoors it is kind of a struggle. I still enjoy bringing it around with me though. All the edges and corners are well rounded and it just makes it nice and comfortable to hold in the hand. And another big compromise that two-in-one devices typically make is the speaker quality. There's just no good place to put it that would make it sound good in both the tablet and laptop form, unless you put it into the hinge like this. So the speakers and the hinge just kind of rotate around as you go in between the two forms. It sounds surprisingly good in both the laptop and tablet form. It could use a little bit more bass, but I guess it's hard fitting a larger woofer into the hinge. And moving on to the Yoga 9i 2-in-1 as a laptop. One thing that I'm always concerned about two-in-ones is the hinge. I've used some pretty floppy ones where if you put it on your legs and then slightly move around, the screen will just start to fall backwards. And it's probably because the screen needs to rotate 360 degrees, and so the hinge is compromised to be more flexible rather than sturdy. But with this device, somehow it's both flexible and sturdy at the same time. Like, I have no problems with rotating the screen. It's very easy and effortless to do. And when I finally settle on an angle that I want, it actually holds. The hinge being solid also makes it nice to use in a variety of other positions like this or this. And obviously, the keyboard is very important for a good laptop experience. This one has the Yoga keyboard. It's one of the nicest keyboards that I've tried on a laptop. It's very tactile with 1.5mm of travel, and it also has this 0.3mm dish that feels nice and also helps center your fingers. And on the Yoga 992 2-in-1, they have these 5 extra keys on the right side. The bottommost one is a fingerprint reader. This one is a shortcut to toggle between the extreme performance, intelligent cooling, and battery saving modes. And this one with the star is a user-defined key that you can map to all sorts of applications. At first, I thought they were going to be very useful, and they are, but I just misclick them so often. It's probably my muscle memory, but it just happened too many times where I was just trying to hit the enter key and I end up turning my entire screen yellow. Also, I love this color. It's called Cosmic Blue. It's like a very deep blue navy. It just looks so nice. This material feels pretty nice, but it can be better at resisting fingerprints. And this device has a 2K webcam with a built-in shutter. It also has an IR camera that can be used for facial unlock. And as for the ports, so on the left side, there are 2 USB-C ports, and actually both of them are Thunderbolt 4.0, which is great. They can be used to hook up to an external monitor, do power delivery, and data transfer. There's also a USB-A port, which is pretty convenient. And then on the right side, there's another USB-C port. I like how there's USB-C ports on both sides of the laptop, and then just a headphone jack. And perhaps the most important aspect about this device, the performance. The new Intel Core Ultra series is actually really fast. In this one, I have the Intel Core Ultra 7 155H, and when it's plugged in and set to extreme performance, it's actually about 30% faster than the M2 MacBook Air in terms of Geekbench multi-core and GPU. The performance does drop when it's unplugged and then set to intelligent cooling, which is probably what the average user would have it set to most of the time, but it's still pretty fast. The Yoga 992 2-in-1 doesn't have a dedicated GPU, but Intel's new integrated Arc GPU is quite good. It can handle some pretty heavy tasks. And also, not having a dedicated GPU does help with battery life. But in general, the new Intel chip is quite a bit more efficient than last gen. In my testing, it's given me solid battery life, although it still doesn't quite match the M2. Also, you can charge this thing quite fast. With the rapid charge feature turned on, I've seen it charge at over 70 watts. And this device also has Lenovo's AI Core, which is designed to intelligently manage the performance and battery efficiency. Okay, so I do feel that with the Yoga 992 2-in-1, you're getting a whole lot of capabilities. It feels closer than ever to being both a great tablet and a great laptop. It's a very portable form factor, and it has great software support for the tablet side of things. It also comes with a nice pen, and it's plenty fast enough for most tasks. And I almost forgot to mention, but along with the pen, you also get this very thin case that the laptop slides nicely into. So yeah, you can learn more about this device at the link down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe, and you can watch more here.